Have a deep breath in through the nose and imagine filling up from the seat all the way up to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, imagine scanning back down the body and softening or releasing any tension that you're still actively holding. And I invite you to stay here for a few breaths, feeling the rise and fall of breath in the body and letting that ground you, center you in the body, in the moment, on the moment. And whenever you're ready, I invite you to open the eyes. We'll get started with a gentle top-down warm-up, kind of check in with everything, and then we'll get moving into our core strengthening movements. Sitting up nice and tall, big breath in. As you exhale, let the left ear come towards the left shoulder, roll the right shoulder, right elbow down, and pause. Letting that stretch just kind of land on the right side for a moment or two. And when you're ready, float the right hand off of the lap, reaching out and down. Imagine lengthening from the crown of the head to the ear, to the shoulder, to the fingers. You can wiggle or keep them still. You can reach straight out or slightly back behind for a different stretch on the front of the shoulder and that right pectoral. Whenever you're ready, open that right hand, spreading the fingers away from each other. On your inhale, rotate the palm up, feeling that rotation all the way into the shoulder. Exhaling back. 2 more with breath. Inhale, rotate the palm up, bring the left hand to the ground. Get tall as you exhale, lean, bend, mouth to the left. Roll the right shoulder back, let the right hip stay heavy. You can look forward or up. Inhaling back up. Inhale tall, exhale right ear to right shoulder. Let the left shoulder, left elbow get heavy. When you're ready, flip the left hand off the leg, lengthening crown of the head, left ear, left shoulder, left fingers. Reaching straight out or slightly back. And whenever you're ready, open that left hand wide. Inhale, rotate up. And exhale back. 2 more with your breath. Inhale, rotate up, reach up. Right hand comes down to the ground. Exhale, we lean or bend to the right, keeping the left hip heavy, looking forward or up. Big stretch on the left side. Inhaling back up. And fold the arms up and out, reach the left, reach the right, roll those shoulders down, settle into a neutral spine, open across the heart space, supported in the low back. And imagine that we're stretching out and also pressing down into books or boxes or something, so I'm active and not just hanging in the arms. You might imagine bringing the pinkies just a little closer by squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other, opening up across the heart space. On your inhale, rotate the palms up and reach up. Exhale, open. 2 more with breath. Inhale the right arm up. Exhale, return to the left. Bring the right arm across the body, finding a seated twist. Breathe in, lengthen, breathe out, look over your left shoulder, soften, settle in. Inhale, untwist, come back to center. Inhale, exhale, open, seated sun salutations. Just get everything moving, warm up a little. Connecting the movement and breath. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, turn to the right, bring the left arm across the body. You can do back of the hand or palm on the leg. As you lengthen, breathe in. Exhale, soften. Slowly untwist and come back to center. Beautiful. I'm going to sit cross-legged with the right leg in front. I'm going to take the hands to the thighs, gently press down. Imagine creating a little space between each vertebra, like we're getting taller, pressing length into the spine. Big breath in on the exhale. I'm going to bend the left elbow and lean to the left. You can take the elbow to your leg, your hand to the floor, or even bring one of those blocks, maybe on like medium or low, under your left arm. I'm gently pressing into that right leg, let the right hip, right thigh get closer to the floor as we lean away. Big breath in on your exhale. You might look over the left shoulder and see if you can bring the stretch from the right hip all the way up the side. On your breath in, gently bring the neck neutral, left hand back to the leg, heart space forward and to the right. Exhaling back, we're going to draw some seated circles clockwise, warming up your shoulders, your spine, your hips. Whenever you're ready, come back to center. I'm going to switch the cross on the legs and take the left leg in front. If I use a block, I'm going to go ahead and move it over to the right side. Bringing the hands to the legs, gently press down, stretching and lengthening in the spine. Big breath in on the exhale. I'm going to bend the right elbow. Elbow to the leg, hand to the floor, or arm onto the block. Gently pressing that left leg down. We lean away. Big breath in on your exhale. Look over the right shoulder. If you want to bring the stretch from the hip all the way up to the ear. Slowly bring the neck neutral. Right hand back to the leg, heart space forward and to the left. Exhaling back. Drawing our circles counterclockwise this time. If you find a good spot that feels like, oh, that's the stretch you wanted, always feel free to pause for a minute, hang out there, explore it, get creative. Whenever you're ready, come back to center. I'm going to take my block to its lowest height in front of me. I'm going to bring my feet, outside edge of the feet onto the block. This will give us a deeper sensation in the hips. If the hips are feeling pretty tight today, you are welcome to keep the feet and the hips level by taking the feet to the floor. We'll still get a really deep stretch, just maybe not quite as intense in the hips. I'm going to press the feet actively together. I'm going to press the knees down. I'm going to hold somewhere on the shins. I'm going to find a neutral spine. I'm looking or feeling for a long, tall spine and making sure I'm not either rounding between the shoulders or overarching in the lower back. Big breath in, feet together, knees heavy. On the exhale, I'm going to hinge forward, trying to keep the spine pretty much neutral. Feel free to adjust the hands, roll the shoulders away from the ears. As you breathe in, lengthen. As you breathe out, soften. On your inhale, slowly hinge up. I'm going to take my feet to the floor. I'm going to move that block out of the way. And I'm going to swing the feet around to come into a hero's pose. That means I'm sitting on the shins with the top of the feet on the floor. You are welcome to take any modification here for comfort. You can sit on a block. You can roll up a blanket or a towel, take it under the tops of the ankles so that we don't have such a flat stretch in the top of the ankles, or any other variation that feels good. We're going to connect the brain to the obliques here. Think about almost like an accordion, lengthening on one side so that we can shorten on the other. I'm going to take the arms up and out, roll the shoulders down. I'm stretching, lengthening. I imagine I'm pressing down into stacks of books or boxes. The first thing I'm going to do is try to get stable in the lower body. So I'm going to press the legs into each other and I'm going to press the shins slightly down. So I'm super engaged and very stable in the lower joints. Keeping that engagement in the lower joints, legs pressed together, shins pressed down. I'm going to hinge at the elbows, just makes it a little easier on the shoulders, and I might take like the thumbs to the collarbone. So try to keep the elbows about in line with the shoulders. Big breath in on your exhale, slow and controlled. I'm going to bring the left elbow back and the right elbow forward. Think about shortening on the left side, lengthening on the right. I'm going to look back over that left elbow. Inhale center. Exhale right. Stay for a breath. Inhale center. Exhale left. Inhale center. Keep the legs pressing together, shins pressing down. Keep moving slow and steady. Pause for a breath, full breath. Inhale center. One breath per movement. Exhale left. Inhale center. Exhale right. Inhale center. Left. Center. Right. Keep moving with your breath. Keep the legs engaged. Slow, controlled movement, no momentum. So do my last one on the left. And the last one. Coming back to center, let the arms go, soften the legs. From here, we'll come right over into tabletop. Knees underneath the hips. Curl the toes for a counter stretch to stretch the soles of the feet. The hands are either right under the shoulders, or if the wrists are talking to you this morning, we can bring the elbows onto blocks. It takes pressure out of the wrists. The shoulders are still basically in line with the hips. I'm going to press down to lift the heart space up away from the floor. And I'm going to tuck the tailbone forward enough to neutralize the back. So I'm not arching or dipping in the low back here. Press the crown of the head forward, tailbone back. Breathe here for a few. Big breath in, and on the exhale, we're going to find our cat shape. We press into the arms, scooping the tailbone forward, let the crown of the head face the floor. Inhale, reversing the movement. I'm still pressing into the arms, lifting the heart space up. Chin and nose point forward, tailbone back rather than up. We're looking for a stretch, not low back compression. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. You can continue to move through your cat-cows with breath, or you can add in some intuitive movement. Sometimes it feels good to kind of lean the hips left or right, look over a shoulder, kind of almost like a tail wagging movement. Sometimes it feels good if you are on hands to tuck the tailbone forward and draw some circles, one direction and then the other, pivot on the hands and the knees. If you're on hands, you can drop an elbow down, look over the opposite shoulder, little mid-back twist. You're welcome to press back. Practice some spinal waves. Anything at all. And when you're ready, we'll come back to tabletop, either on palms or on your blocks. So I'm going to come onto blocks, but the cueing is the same. I'm going to press down into the arms to lift the shoulders, curl the toes if they're not already curled. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to lift the knees. Imagine the shins are parallel to the floor, and I'm trying to keep the heels pressing slightly forward for a little more quad engagement too. We should make sure that we're tucking the tailbone forward for a neutral spine or even rounded slightly, as opposed to arching here. Imagine keeping the knees hip width. Big breath in, exhale, release. I'm gonna untuck the toes. I'm gonna press straight back. I'm gonna take the blocks forward, wide, and let the forehead melt between. If you're not on blocks here, you can simply take fingertips to the floor, and that still lifts the elbows off of the mat. Big breath in, rounding the spine, slowly start to come back up. I'm gonna press down into the arms to lift the shoulders. Curl the toes if they're not already curled. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to lift the knees. Big breath in, exhale, release. I'm gonna untuck the toes. I'm gonna press straight back. I'm gonna take the blocks forward, wide, and let the forehead melt between. Big breath in, rounding the spine, slowly start to come back up. I'm going to take my blocks onto highest height underneath the shoulders. I'm going to straighten the right leg out. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to draw the knee forward towards the midline, and I'm going to also tuck the nose towards the knee. So keeping on the midline, knee to nose, nose to knee. Inhale, open, toes come to the floor. Long, feel the stretch in the belly. Exhale in. See if you can squeeze the heel towards the glute when we come in. So the heel stays high versus lower. And right knee down. We'll go ahead and switch sides, pressing into the hands. You can curl both toes if you like, or just the left. I'm going to stretch the left leg out. Big breath in. Exhale, draw the knee forward and the nose down towards the midline. Okay. Exhale in. Move with your breath, slow and steady. And up and down. Beautiful. Walking the knees wide, uncurl the toes, bring the big toes to touch. I'm going to send my hips towards the heels. I'm going to take my blocks to medium height or fingertips to the floor so that the elbows are up. Walk the hands mat width and forward. Slowly start to round the spine, lift the head, walk those hands back in. I'm going to walk the knees in and swing the hips around either to the left or the right. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way and come down into a seat with the feet on the floor and the knees bent. I'm going to walk the feet all the way in. Inseam zips up, toes together, knees together. I'm going to take the hands to the front of the knees. I'm going to sit up tall and roll the shoulders down. Keeping the toes grounded, gripping into the floor. I'm going to be careful not to lift the feet. Big breath in, neutral spine. On the exhale, I'm going to start to lean back. Imagine that we're hinging at the hips and the spine is staying straight, as opposed to rounding in the spine to like roll back. So we sit up tall and we hinge back until we feel the front abdominal wall start to come on to hold up some of the weight here. Keep the feet heavy, grip the toes into the floor. And you might stay here, or if you can keep that spinal alignment, that long spine, without either arching the back or rounding between the shoulders, we can play with getting light in one hand. And you can kind of alternate. Or we can take both hands off the knees and reach the hands straight forward, hands in line with shoulders. If you feel a little wobbly in the lower joints, just like we did in our hero's pose, you can press the legs into each other for a little more stability. The more we lean back, keeping a straight spine, the more intense this will be for our abs. We're working on a static boat pose prep here. Big breath in. As we exhale, we can bring the hands back to the knees. We can sit up. I'm going to walk the feet wide and roll forward. Let the arms, the head, the neck, the shoulders hang. Rounded spine. Maybe feeling a little bit of a stretch here. On an inhale, I'm going to sit back up tall. I'm going to walk the feet back in, pressing the legs into each other. I'm going to take the hands to the front of the knees, gripping the toes into the floor. I'm going to find my neutral long spine. Sitting up tall, on the exhale, I'm going to hinge back. I might, again, play with getting light in one hand or maybe both. And then I'm going to lift the heels, pointing the toes. I'm going to walk the knees towards the belly. I imagine pressing the belly towards the knees and the knees towards the belly. I'm still trying to press the legs into each other. And we might stay right here, feeling the change there in the core, or you might even play with lifting one foot or the other, or you might play with lifting both. Press the belly towards the thighs and the thighs towards the belly. One more breath in. Slowly set the feet down, hands back to the knees. I'm going to sit up, walk the feet wide, and roll forward. Slowly sitting back up. I'm going to walk those feet back in. I have one more movement kind of playing around with our Navasana boat pose shape. I'm going to press the legs into each other, grip those toes into the mat. I'm going to find my long spine, hands to the knees. Big breath in on the exhale. I'm hinging back. You might play with lifting one hand and then the other. I'm going to start lifting the heels, walking the feet in and on the big toes. Imagine pressing belly to thigh, thigh to belly. I might play with lifting a foot and alternating or lifting both. When you're ready, we're going to roll slowly down to find low boat or half boat, but I'm going to keep the feet off the floor with the legs straight, and I'm going to keep the head, neck, and shoulders rounding up off of the floor for some upper ab engagement. Big breath in on the exhale. We slowly start to lean back. We straighten the legs. I'm pointing the toes. I'm going to keep the feet off the floor. I'm going to keep the shoulders, neck, and head off the floor. I'm reaching towards the feet, palms down, or they can face towards each other. Imagine somebody's got a wedge under the shoulders and they're pressing you up. Try to soften the neck. Big breath in, exhale, release. We'll take a rest here for a few breaths. And when you're ready, I'll bend the knees with the feet on the floor, one hand to the heart and one to the belly. Keeping the hips on the mat. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to scoop the tailbone up. I'm looking for a little lumbar extension, a stretch in the low back. Imagine the belly button pressing down towards the floor. We're basically just stretching out that little arch in the low back. And release. I'm going to take my palms to the floor on either side of the hips, kind of reaching out and down, almost like a capital letter A shape. Keeping the neck neutral, so I'm looking straight up. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to scoop the tailbone up like I just did, but this time I'm going to squeeze the glutes, press into the feet and maybe the hands to lift the hips. Draw the knees in versus out. We keep the knees over the ankles. Let the shoulders, the neck, and the head stay heavy on the mat. Big breath in. Exhale, slowly lower down. When you're ready, I'll take one of my blocks on its lowest height next to my hips. I'm going to bring the elbows to my sides and bend the arms so the fingers point straight up. Still keeping a neutral neck. Big breath in, and on the exhale, I'm going to scoop the tailbone up, squeeze the glutes, press into the feet and the arms to lift once again. I'm going to slide the block underneath where like your jean pockets would be, like the flat backside of the hips. So it's not under the low back, but below that. I'm going to take the arms out, palms up. Let the shoulders get heavy. You might close the eyes. We find a comfortable shape for the legs. It might mean knees right over the ankles. You can also try walking the feet slightly out or a little bit forward. Have a big breath in, feel the belly and the heart space expand. As you exhale, imagine the spine unrolling from the hips up high all the way down to the shoulders on the mat. Supported bridge pose, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Have a big full deep breath in and empty all the way out. I'm going to one more time either turn the palms down or take the hands to the block so that I feel really confident in where the block is and that it's not going to move. I'm going to walk the feet in towards each other, and then one at a time, I'm going to lift one foot and then the other. If I need to make any adjustments in the block, I'll bring the feet back down, move the block around, and then lift the feet again. From here, you can continue to hold the block or take the hands to the floor. We'll extend the legs straight up for a legs up the wall. The hips are elevated up on the block. They are above the heart. So technically we are in an inversion. I'm going to straighten the legs as much as I can and flex the feet for a big stretch on the hamstrings. And I might point and flex the feet or draw a few circles, just kind of moving in the ankles a little bit if that feels good. When you're ready, we can bring a gentle bend in the knees, soft at the ankles for a more restorative version. Feel free to close the eyes. You can even bring the hands to the thighs to give some support if that feels good. And we will just hang here. When you're ready, bend one knee and then the other. Slowly let one foot and then the second. Come down to the mat. One last time, I'm going to bend the elbows, bring them to the sides, fingers pointing up. Big breath in on the exhale. I'm going to scoop the tailbone up, squeeze the glutes to come up off the block. I'm going to move the block out of the way and leave the hips up. Keep the tailbone tucked until the last possible moment. Big breath in on the exhale, slowly lower down. One vertebra at a time, all the way back down. Eventually untucking the tailbone. And I'll take one hand to the heart and one to the belly. Lifting both feet off the floor. I'm going to keep the knees together. I'm going to take the hands to the front of the knees and I'm going to draw circles counterclockwise, massaging out the back side of the hips and the low back where that block may have been kind of pressing in. Coming back to center, I'm going to draw the circles clockwise. Massaging out the low back, the back side of the hips. Move back to center, back to stillness. And from here, if there are any other shapes and movements, any other stretches that your body needs before you'll be able to really relax and release into Shavasana, feel free to pause, take the next few moments, find those stretches, those moves, those shapes, and when you're ready, we'll come into Shavasana. There's no wrong way to take this shape as long as you're comfortable. You can leave the feet on the floor and the knees bent. You can use a bolster behind the backs of the knees. You can take a blanket or a pillow under the head, neck, and shoulders. You can even cover something over the eyes, anything at all. But I invite you to come into stillness. Find support where you need it. Close the eyes. Have a deep breath in. Imagine filling up from the soles of the feet to the knees, all the way up to the hips, up the spine, to the very top of the head. And as you exhale, imagine scanning back down the body and releasing tension on the scalp or the forehead, softening at the corners of the eyes, relaxing the ears and the jaw, releasing the shoulders down, heavy in the arms, gentle bend at the elbows, hands and fingers are soft. The spine unrolls down to the hips, which are heavy, down to the knees, ankles, and toes. Keeping your eyes closed, slowly start to bring awareness back to your breath. Breathing in and out through the nose and just feeling the rise and fall of breath in the body. And when you're ready, you might start to wiggle the fingers or the toes. You might start to move the wrists or the ankles. It might feel good to take a big full body stretch. And whenever you are ready, I invite you to bring the feet to the floor with the knees bent. Gently roll onto your right side, coming off of your props, and find just another moment or two to yourself. And whenever you feel ready, I invite you to make your way back upright into any kind of seated shape. Sitting up nice and tall, keeping that softness in the body. It is my honor and pleasure to share practice with you today. Thank you.